What's up, you beautiful peeps? Welcome back to the Sovereign Kitchen Society, where real food meets real life. I'm Molly Bravo, chef, teacher, and your guide to cooking the way that our grandparents did. Slow, skilled, and with deep respect for where every ingredient comes from. This show is about getting back to our roots. We learn from our elders, keeping their wisdom alive, and pass it on to the next generation. Around here, we talk real food, hospitality and service, sourcing from local farms, building a strong pantry, and cooking from scratch so that your kitchen becomes the heartbeat of your home. Inside of our community, also called the Sovereign Kitchen Society, I teach practical, everyday skills so that you can cook with confidence and feed your family well. You'll learn the fundamentals that matter, how to stock a pantry from the ground up, buy in bulk, meet your farmers, and turn simple ingredients into nourishing meals. We host in-person and live stream classes several times a week on bone broth, sourdough, raw dairy, and sugar-free, nutrient-dense desserts. You'll get a monthly meal plan with shopping lists and recipes, plus live Q&As with me to help you through the sticky parts of canning, food preservation, and weekly prep. The goal is simple: slow down, reconnect over a homemade meal, and walk with a community that is choosing the same path. Back to basics, back to each other, and back to ourselves. If you want to support the work, you can always grab our Essential Canning Cookbook, which is a complete start-to-finish guide to water bath and pressure canning for beginners and seasoned canners alike. So take a deep breath, grab your notebook, and let's step into the kitchen together. Hey, welcome back to the Sovereign Kitchen Society. I'm Molly Bravo, and if you're catching this on your commute or while you're on prep, this one is definitely for you. We are talking about something every kitchen runs into sooner or later: burnout, and how you as a leader can build a team that feels steady, supported, and spiritually grounded. I'm sitting down with Angie Colyer DuPree, the founder of Hospitality Revival in Charleston, South Carolina. Angie's a 30-year hospitality veteran, owner, operator turned training director and curriculum designer, ServeSafe proctor, and a mentor who has coached hundreds of cooks and managers on the floor and in community kitchens. She's walked the hard miles, and now she is building a path forward. Hospitality Revival is Angie's community-driven way of caring for people with real tools, support circles, workshops, and partnerships that connect teams to resources beyond the line. Right now, she's developing a pilot with clinical partners to help kitchens prevent burnout and addiction. Clear leadership practices, access to therapy, and human-centered SOPs that protect both your standards and your people. Here's where we're going today: how to recognize burnout early, what leaders can do spiritually, personally, and clinically to support their teams, and how Angie's pilot can plug into your operation right now. Hey, Angie. So for folks meeting you for the first time, give us the quick lay of the land. Who are you, and what is Hospitality Revival? I would love to know what you went through in the restaurant world that made you say, we need a revival in this town. So if you could take us back to the moment when that went from a thought to, okay, I'm going to do this.
I'm so excited to be here, Molly. My father owned a restaurant. My sister is a chef. So I've been in Southern cooking and around people cooking all my life. My mother, my grandmother. So we've always been around that sort of what you're talking about, that old school feeling of hospitality where everyone's serving each other in this beautiful way. And so it was a very natural flow into hospitality for me with my first job. And then I, opened my first restaurant when I was 24 with my sister, had that for over a decade, and then stepped into a nonprofit world where I had my soul years and was training and working with people underserved and undervalued and giving them a new path to careers and working with chefs in the community. So it's been a very layered path of hospitality for me, but there's no other place I would have chosen to be And there's no other place I'd rather be having a revival. But, it does come with its ups and downs. And I have had the burnout, the breakdowns, the short tempers, the endless hours, the pretending that I had it all together, and all the things that have now, it's really been a spiritual journey to get to where I am today, to understand it all. But, it does take a certain bit of your soul and make you realize that you are serving from your soul, and that how to do that, it takes a lot of replenishing. So that's how I got to revival at the end of the day. I want to
Beautiful.
create it by building circles, like you said, having conversations, having accountability for our actions. That's not something we were super focused on in parts of my history, but and creating other ways to enjoy and lift up what we do. At the end of the day, we're all in a bit of service, whether it's hospitality, caretaking, working at the bank. It takes something from you to give, to fill another's cup. So how do we do that? Where do we begin? And how do we look back at what we've learned and use that to create something?
Beautiful. In that regard, I just want to go back to when you first started in the kitchen. Obviously, you probably started because you wanted to be of service and you wanted to nurture people through food. How do you feel like the hospitality industry, I don't want to say treated you, but tell us a little bit about your experience from first starting in the hospitality industry to maybe that first feeling of burnout, overwhelm, maybe not taking care of yourself too well, to where you're at now, and how that relates to mentorship in a kitchen, and how you feel like maybe now that you've come out the other side, how you're able to help people that are in the thick of it right now.
Sure. Well, I think a lot of us begin our journey because, it's a very open industry where you can walk in. You don't have to have a whole lot of background. A lot of times you're given a chance when you walk through the door. If you have that spark in your eye and you want to work, of course, we're all meeting the greeter when they walk in, and I want this job. And so I probably began just like anybody else, wanting to make some money that was cash in your pocket, and you could be around people. It moves fast. It's not like working somewhere where everything slowly is ticking by, like that energy, and there's music and there's beautiful food and beautiful people. And so that's probably how I got, first like sort of brought into it, and then, making that money. So those are the very early years. We're talking teenager into my first year of college. I got a one-way ticket somewhere in there to the Caribbean, and we worked in the Caribbean in restaurants. And, it was just always, you could go anywhere, any city, walk in the door, and that's part of its beauty. It's like everybody can get a chance there. And I'm talking from people that are felons to all the way down, anyway, up into the elite people that want to go give a hand at waiting tables. So I think it grows as a service as you understand it, but it didn't start necessarily there for me. I got in it because of, the easy money, kind of not easy money, but, you make a good living, you can get in, get out. You don't have to be completely committed. So you can really do it in transitional times anywhere in your life. Later on, as I came back and realized my sister, who's 7 years older, had made a life from it. She's cooking and opening restaurants, and I could do that with her. And we opened our first restaurant. That's when it became a service, because now I was a part of the community. So we landed on James Island, which is a beautiful area in Charleston. And, you immediately are working with the people that are right there in your community. So that's everything from baby showers to weddings to funerals to, just your daily pickup of a sandwich. And that's when the service really started. Now I'm in my 20s and I understand that more, that I have a skill. And it's a service to deliver that each day with a smile and make people feel warm. And I mean, Angie was open 24/7. You could call me if you just needed to know how many pounds of pasta to make for your friends coming over. I mean, you give it all up, especially when you're an entrepreneur, because you'll do anything to make that dream of yours come true. So it was just like, that's super, like, give it all away, and just give them everything every day. And, we did a lot of things wrong. We opened up breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You never do that now in retrospect. You open for breakfast, add lunch, add dinner, whatever. We did it all. We opened with a bagel and a dream, and we went for 12 years in that one spot, giving it all up. And that, that can be very, at the end of a 12-year run, you can look back and easily see, okay, I gave too much. I mean, we were giving food away. I might as well have been giving $1 with every sandwich on top of just like giving your heart and your soul and all your time and energy and everything. You're giving away food just to get people to know it's good. And the food was delicious. So, I mean, I didn't even have to do that, but you don't even charge half as much as you should or could or would have. And owning your own businesses is draining, and you're often robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you're just like, you kind of get in this mindset where nothing can stop you. I mean, honestly, people will look back and go, why didn't you just stop after a couple of years? But you won't stop. There's nothing that's the beauty of an entrepreneur. Like if you're going hard, you're going to keep going, and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and do it again. I was in my 20s. We were partying like rock stars and keeping it all together. I didn't have any kids and, I had that freedom and there was a certain amount of like, oh, I'm young and own my own business. So I'm going to like even live that rock star lifestyle even harder. Please, not on my own here. We're talking everybody's doing it. So every restaurant around me, we're all partying together at the end of the night. It is a culture. So that burnout hit pretty hard.
It's a culture. I know.
It's a culture. Like there were very few people that didn't. I mean, the one person that wouldn't stood out pretty quickly and almost probably wasn't even invited back. I don't know. It's like that was the only pathway. If you want to be cool with the cool kids, not necessarily cool because it wasn't cool at all, but I don't know. We were kind of fun and we were going, and it was nonstop, and it was a hard burnout, where you hit the wall. Now you wake up 12 years later. I don't feel like I'm connected to it. My sister, this business is making it, but what is it making right now? I mean, I'm making a fool of myself for sure. Day in and day out partying with these people. This is not a good look. You're not stepping into things like faith and service. So that gets lost, right? It completely lost. You don't have service anymore. You're just out there winging it, doing it. So it takes a certain amount of, if I'd had some mentors or had people at that point in my life that said, like, what are you doing? And my sister was one of those because she was married with a child and coming back. And, I've had mentors, but, there weren't like pathways. There weren't people to call. There wasn't sober, curious living sort of vibe on Instagram. There was no Instagram. There were, those things weren't even there. So now looking back, that mentorship or somebody to come in and say, hey, let's look at this and let's stop. It could have meant everything. It could have changed everything. And I think about those things now. So you come out of it and then you go back and you try and help people. So, there's one thing to come out of the fire, they say, but it's a whole nother thing to go back in there and get the people still caught in it and try and help.
When you first got started in the restaurant industry, were you more focused on the entrepreneurial aspect, or were you more focused on honing your craft? And just like for my own personal entertainment, I want to know a little bit about how you discovered your voice through food and how many years you focused on honing your craft before you actually realized, oh my gosh, I'm actually a leader in this kitchen and I need to steer the ship for all of the people that work with me, because you're really setting the tone of how your kitchen operates and how people show up.
So voice was starting to come out with Savory when I owned Savory for sure. Just I knew working with people in the first, I'm saying 10 years, every single person that walked through that door, connecting with them. And when you have a bride, as you know, in catering that walks in the door and she's got the book this big about every dream she's been keeping since she was in, a certain age and has all these visions she wants to come true, then you have to find your voice to connect with them and make them feel safe and that you care every single day about every single one of those dreams. And sometimes we were doing 6 weddings in a weekend or something. So you had to do that individually with every person. And I feel like I knew that in the midst of it, even though I was showing, I was in those cycles of, partying and addiction and all those things. I still was very connected with those people. And I see people to this day that I catered their weddings and they're like, oh, do you remember? And I'm like, yeah, I did. It's about connecting with people. And so I found my voice that way. I was super front of the house at that point. My sister was in the back of the house, the chef, and I was in the back of the kitchen and watching her. Now she's 7 years older, honing her craft, really out there to prove her name through the food, and not prove her name, but, to be successful through her craft in what she was creating. And so I was watching and learning and seeing, and obviously it was me and her side by side every night, every weekend at farmer's market, every horse show, every, little thing you can pick up and do. I was super driven, super ambitious entrepreneur, I would say, was kind of where I was at. And she was super driven for her craft. And slowly those things overlapped into, I think I changed her in certain ways and she changed me, certainly. I wouldn't say I found my voice until that next part of my life where I stepped out alone into the world, got a job at the nonprofit, started working in a large community kitchen, which had a lot of moving parts. We had food rescue, the community kitchen, started doing the job training program, and really started seeing that the same connections I could easily make at Kiowa with $1 million wedding or $1 million vibe of a wedding, and a homeless guy that, just needed some connection and some heart. It wasn't much different. They weren't much different. Somebody that, likes their chicken one way at Kiowa is going to be the same as somebody on the streets that likes their chicken. They're very vocal about food. So I started seeing food as that more something that could change every dynamic between two people. So started leading that kitchen with other people, obviously, and building that program. But the resilience of the people that were coming through the program and seeing that spark in their eyes if they wanted to get into our program and start working next to us and side by side and meeting them where they were at and really connecting with them is where I found my voice. I mean, I just realized, oh man, I can connect with anybody. That's amazing. Let's go. And so that gave me really started bringing me back to my heart of service. And I would say that I found it there, even though it was still a hard, 10 years. So that's another 10 years of my life where I focused solely on that, was in that groove, working. We graduated over 200 people from the program, and they were, it's a hard dream to sell, as we know in retrospect, but it was about teaching them. The mentorship started playing a role where I saw that you can change someone's life by seeing their potential, then helping them bring out their potential through skills and tools and just a little, love. Honestly, like it takes the love too. You can't do it without the love. And that's where chefs today get burnout in kitchens, because you got to give them all that. Every single person needs all that. And it was very hard to, train them, get them ready and get them in a kitchen, and then you're off. And that can't always be, completely supported in just a kitchen trying to get through the day too. So I found my voice, I think, at 180. And then now I've really sort of, tapped into that. Why were those two things set up for me? The hustle, the soul years, and then how can I, make my life feel of service again? So I'm back there, want to figure it out, want to help, want to go back. I mean, at the end of the day, after 30 years in the industry, it's like being in a war or on a team of some sorts. Athletics, military, hospitality industry are all very similar places to be. So you kind of turn around and either you're going to be a colonel or you're going to be a coach or you're going to be somebody that can go back in and help figure out ways to make it better. So, so we're trying here.
Now that you are out, I wouldn't say you're out of the restaurant industry completely, but you've kind of come out the other side and you're finding this new revival in wanting to still be of service and to help people. What advice would you give somebody that is in the thick of it right now, that is maybe losing their way, that is maybe not participating in self-care the best that they can? Maybe they're still showing up to work every day on time, but are not living up to their fullest potential. What advice would you have for them, and how could you help them knowing what you know now versus where you were at 10 years ago?
So, I think you might be the next leader. If you feel that way and you can move through the pain and figure out who you are with your feet on the ground, ground yourself, realize that the perfection is is nowhere, honestly. I mean, there's very few people that have just gone through it and pure perfection and just made it out to the other side and life's been perfect. I mean, you could go through a full restaurant and find every single person sitting in that restaurant has, an imperfection, a demon, an issue, whether it's with food or wine or with other things that, that are put in front of them that they don't control, whether it's just gossip, whether it's this or that. So we all are sort of flawed in this puzzle. Nobody is perfect. And honestly, if you have the thought that you want to be different, better, then blaze your own path. You don't even need to be caught up in the circles or caught up in the culture. I mean, honestly, it is terrifying. Most of us want to feel like we're part of the team and we're, that everybody's getting together. And often if you're a new person on the job or you're walking into somewhere that's already has a pretty formulated situation going on and you want to be part of the team. So you got to figure out who you are. I mean, we have to start asking the question, what is your dream and what do you want to do? Whether that's something small and it doesn't have to be huge. I want to have a beautiful little home with a little family. Beautiful. I want to go fishing on Sunday. That's fine. What is it though? You got to stand up for who you are and what you want and start using your voice. So I feel like I could have found my voice a lot earlier in the game instead of just going in these cycles and sort of thinking there was no end. I mean, it's shameful when you're caught in a cycle, but everybody in a restaurant, if they're all caught in it, they give you a lot of grace. And so you find yourself in this, cycle of being forgiven. And that becomes something that they can live with. Okay, well, everybody else knows I did it. Oh, so what if I blacked out last night and made a fool of myself? Everybody forgave me because they want me on the shift today and we're all working together now hungover. And so that becomes a thing. I think maybe the kids today are a little bit better than us. I'm not going to lie. I hope, because otherwise it's real hard to reach that person because they're not even listening to podcasts like this. They're not stepping into things like, the wellness paths. They're not doing yoga. They're not doing those things. So they're not hearing this necessarily. But I would tell that person, if there was somebody that had one ear perk up and go to the other side, follow that nudge. Pay attention to your nudges. You don't have to sit here and do this for 10 years. Remember who you are. Remember the person you were the day you walked in. Who was that person? And then how do we get back to that? And so it's going to take a certain level of self-introspection and trying to not just get on the hamster wheel. So just avoid the hamster wheel because it is a beautiful place to be. You can. So then what are you interested in? Is it baking? Is it pastry? Then let's talk about that. Let's have that. And that chef writes it down in a book. And then here's other pathways for you to get there. Let's explore you a little bit more than just being just another body. Let's explore it half as much as we do the fresh herbs that come in the door. Let's explore these people in our kitchens. And, you got to cross a lot of diverse lines to get to that space where people can, and I had to do that in the community kitchen. So I understand that. It's not like everybody can hold hands at the beginning of the shift but you can connect and you can take 5 minutes at the end of the week or the beginning of the week. I mean, so you don't have to hold hands at the beginning of every shift and the end of every shift. Although maybe if you did, it wouldn't hurt either. Give people a softer landing space. Not to say this doesn't mean I don't want discipline and, a certain atmosphere in my kitchen where things are working because everybody loves to work on a good team. And if they feel seen, it's true. They're better. They're going to be better people.
Yeah.
They can go home and be better. You got to stop it. You got to have to stop the hemorrhaging. You got to figure out where people are at. And I mean, we don't do that necessarily, or we haven't in the past. And there are ways to do it. And it is by just asking and talking and connecting and helping people.
What are you doing currently in terms of outreach and connecting with local restaurants in the area? How are you sharing this message with chefs that are leading teams? Because obviously change happens from the top down. So yes, it's important to connect with all of the line cooks in a kitchen, but what if the chef themselves are super unhealthy? How do you relate to them and share this message of changing a culture?
So I'm working on all that. I mean, I'm working with like a clinical psychologist right now from MUSC, and we're developing a pilot program so that we can go to a large scale and a small scale restaurant. Right now we're doing some market research on, we want to send it to 5 different restaurants. So we're just finishing up that. Hopefully that goes out by the 1st of October, but we need to ask the people, like, is this something that you think your staff personally would do? I mean, I guess that's going to be the first question, is asking them what they would need. Where are you at? Like, do you find, I mean, if you had the access to different therapists, different workshops, different things, would your staff use it? That's one question. The other question is, what does your chef need? What do the leaders need? Do they need these conversations? If they don't think they do, then they probably do also. But the clinical psychologist I'm working with, she actually worked with the College of Charleston's athletics department for a couple of years, where she held space for those athletes that were basically the same thing. Something happens in that kitchen where this person now who's worked, has never missed a shift or a game, is now off the team, and that team has to go on. They got to keep moving. We got the game tonight. We got showtime in an hour. They got to fill that position. And then what happens to that person? They're often sort of shut out in a way that they feel, they get depressed. They start going towards the old, addiction ways, and those feelings of, nobody cared. Nobody cares, but they do care. So maybe there's like a standard operating procedure for that person, or soul of, the person is SOP, is soul of person. Maybe it's not standard operating procedure, because that didn't work. Sending in HR reactively instead of maybe caring about that person. So we're setting up a couple different pathways where we can train to see if your staff is, having on the upstream, instead of you're not reacting to something because your staff member called in and they had a DUI and they're in jail, they can't come in today. So a little bit more preemptive on that side, as far as not just being a reactive situation, and offering them pathways to figuring that out, having standard operating procedures for a person if something happens, death in the family, to being burned really bad in a kitchen and now you're out for 6 months. So many different legs to this. So like trying to really narrow it down. We want to get the feedback from staff, and then we want to get the small and a large restaurant on the pilot program before November is our hope for that, where we're offering these workshops, revivals. There'll be online group therapy that they could jump into if they needed. There'll be in-person therapy for, like, she'll hold space for 2 people a week for a restaurant where they could immediately connect with her and then go see her if something like that happened. Therapy's not always open-armed either in the industry. So they're going to have to connect with that person and see that she's, understands, and it's coming from a place of us wanting to help them as professionals, as people that have been through it, not necessarily just HR sort of dealing with it, which I think HR will play a huge role in helping usher this in, because it's not saying you don't need HR, you need HR, but you do need something else for the people. And so, I think it can be done, but there's another like in-home healthcare service right now that I'm talking to that's already started a program for food and beverage people that I don't know that everybody knows. It's called Holy City, and they come to the home and provide in-home care and give a discount to food and beverage industry. So there's a lot of people that are already sort of witnessing that there's a shift in caring for these people. There's tons of, sober, curious, and facilities now in the city that weren't here 10 years ago for sure. I mean, obviously Steve Palmer and Mickey have become the light post of that. They're a restaurant. Steve Palmer owns tons of restaurants here, and Mickey, and they started Ben's Friends, which is like AA for people in the industry. So there's like a whole conversation that goes on every week downtown. So people that understand it, have been through it, and know it's not the same as other industries. Charleston's
I'm moved to tears right now because of this mission is so needed. And a couple of things have come up to me as I've been listening to you. I can think right off the top of my head of people that have worked in our company for many, many years. And the same thing that you were just talking about, where they've never missed a day of work. And then all of a sudden something shifts and our team can't stop what we're doing. We have to keep on moving, but we also can't support bad behavior because it's pulling everybody else down. But if we had the resources that we could offer a long-term employee that is so talented and so dedicated to like get their life on track, that could be life-changing. And then second to that, I love having people come and work at Wilder Space that have been through the trenches, because I've been through the trenches, and are now on the other side in recovery. Like, I'm thinking about bartenders that are now serving drinks to people. And you might wonder, well, how the heck can you serve alcohol if you're no longer drinking? But those people are in a position of giving back to the community because they're able to plant little seeds to people that are still ripping and roaring, and just show them that, like, when you make a decision to change your life, everything changes. And those demons no longer hold us down, and you can be of service and do what you love to do. And we can use food and hospitality as our medium for connecting with people. Like, I am so excited about what you're doing. It's huge.
I mean, I
I
think
really, really hope that this pilot program is a success, because I think once people get a taste of it, it's going to transform kitchens. I can't see that it wouldn't transform kitchens. It's so needed.
it's one of those things where you look and you're saying, "Okay, does anybody care what you're doing, Angie, right now?" They do care. There's people doing it. Burnt Chef Project, like I said, Steve and Mickey are doing it here in Charleston. You start looking around. It's kind of like this new awakening happening across the board. So this is like the perfect time to say, hey, we've already lost a lot of people in this war against ourselves that we've been having for 30 years. And maybe people have figured it out 10 years ago, but of course, bringing in people that have been through it are going to be the ones that help the next group. And so how that it does kind of solve two things at once. I mean, especially when, alcohol is part of it. You're mixing it, you're selling it, you're bringing it in, you're tasting it, you're doing all these things. How do you do that without drinking it and without ruining, going back down the path of complete and total mayhem because you had a drink? I mean, part of it is that person might tell you, hey, listen, don't make it your identity. Like, let's look at these other ways. Like, just don't create another thing that you got to keep up with. And you got to, like, just let's look at other ways to find who you are and what your potential is. I mean, that is the only difference between an addict and somebody that's not doing it. Or for me, what I realized when I wasn't drinking or anymore, that my potential went up a whole lot more. So I'm going to be a lot more focused on those things that maybe you were focused on 20 years ago. You just forget about it. You just like go into this, tunnel vision and how to get out. So you need somebody there with a light, with a, an open heart that wants to be there if it's just a bad day, or if it's a bad month, to help on a bigger, larger scale, to pick people up. And I mean, I know you're doing it in your kitchen, and I know other people are doing it. What if it was just part of it? Like, HR became just part of a kitchen. So why couldn't, wellness for the people be part of it too? I think it can. But I have to keep finding people like you that get it and keep working at it. And, hopefully it all makes a change. But you just move the needle a little bit. I mean, you think about the one girl that just walks into a restaurant because she wants to get a little job, a little side money, and then literally 15 years later gets spit out to the side of the road with like nothing and nothing to prove, and just like,
You know how restaurants and kitchens in general, it's like, it's a really tight-knit family, and we love each other and we connect and bond over this shared experience of chaos in the kitchen. What just got me really choked up was thinking about your friend, I think his name's Mickey, who has brought AA meetings into the hospitality industry. And I love the idea, like just how we bond over the chaos in the kitchen. If there are people that are really going through it and want to find a different way, they can also retrain themselves to bond over pulling themselves out of the chaos in a kitchen. So
Mm-hmm.
to have those meeting places where people can meet up and share stories, like from the battleground, so to speak,
Right.
and offer hope to people that are in it looking for a way out, that is so transformative to think that you could take those people in a meeting and they could disperse into the belly of the beast, so to speak, and like infiltrate kitchens and bring a little bit of health and mentorship to the people that are still in it, and offer hope and light and healing and lead by example. Like, I just have chills because what you're doing is revolutionary. Like, you are very much a way shower and ahead of the curve. And I just really hope that you keep doing this, because I want to be a part of this.
You
I will
are.
tell you that. Like, I would love to be a part of your mission. Like, I feel so strongly
I love it.
about what you're sharing.
Let's go. I mean, it's just like Ben's friends. I mean, they started with one here and it is already shot across the country. I'm sure they're in California. I know they're on the East Coast everywhere, and they've taken off in this way because people are recognizing what has happened. But what if we did the same thing with, like you're saying, food in the back? So, I mean, we've kind of lost, just like alcohol got lost in the hustle and became just this over addictive, crazy thing. But food is medicine, and we've lost our way in food in a lot of ways. So bringing back sort of that joy of it, and how to, everybody ask anybody. I swear, when I worked at the shelter too, we would do our graduations at the end of every cycle, and we would ask them, like, who's the person that got you into food in the first place? And they're like 9 out of 10 times it's my grandmother. So it brings back this family, right? And how they learned from somebody that showed them something, that loved them, that gave them something delicious to eat around a table. And it created who in their heart they are. Like, it always goes back to the grandmom or somebody that was close to them, that just shared a little bit of something. So whether it's the canning or food as medicine, and bringing those things back and going out and forging, or, those workshops for the people that maybe aren't experiencing necessarily addiction, but just trying to find that root again to what mind, body, soul is in a kitchen. How to find.
It's the grounding,
I love it.
the healing.
And there's so many people doing it. I'm telling you, there are a lot of people out there that are getting back into sort of these older, like we've talked about it, and how we're going to do our class in October. But when I saw you doing it online, when I found you, it really resonated with me, because I'm Southern, and like hospitality and the canning. And I used to grow up going to this camp meeting, and it's all quilts and canning, and, sort of that history of my family that meant everything to me. People just, kitchens are families. They become families. So there's there's good things. You get the love, but then you also get sort of that shield on, like, what's really going on inside that family that people don't see. When they drive by and everybody waves, it's all good, but that might not be what's going on inside that family. And people will, out of loyalty and love, hide the bad things. So it's time to sort of like say, okay, we've done it that way. Let's stop waving. If it's not perfect, let's get in there and let's figure out ways to like bring it back. So that's what revival is. Let's just revive our love for it, for sitting down and pouring a cup of coffee for somebody that just had a bad day and you don't know what they've been going through. I mean, people sit down, they just lost people. They're sick. They got a toothache. You don't know what's going on with every single person, not only on the line, in the front of the house, or sitting at the table. Everybody's going through like these things all the time, right? I have a cold, but it's okay. And who lifts you up? Maybe this beautiful, sweet soul that just walks up. It's not going to be because it was the fastest cup of coffee or the best cup of coffee, but if that person had the power to just see you for a second and give you and hold space, that can change everything for somebody. And, so how do we stop beating ourselves up? Obviously, too, because it sounds like a lot of that I'm doing right now because we had a hard time trying to manage it all, but just finding it and filling those cups back up. And I think,
This is so layered, Angie.
really,
There's so many intuitive hits that I'm getting listening to this mission and just getting so lit up over it, because what you're describing is the microcosm of how we can literally change the world and reconnect and bring the soul back into a kitchen, bring the soul back into the people, bring the soul back into the food, nurture people through food, slowing down, regrounding, getting healthy enough to stop thinking about our own personal lives and put ourselves in somebody else's shoes just for a minute, to take a time and ask how they're doing. Bring them a cup of coffee and just take a moment to ask and to really listen and be present. I love what you're doing.
Well, we don't think about it. You come out of the hospitality industry, you have a couple of things you don't realize are in your back pocket, even if you walk away from it completely. You will be more on it mother for sure. You don't realize all the multitasking and the vibe that you can create in your own home, by getting things done and being on your game and all that. But then the actual moment of human to human, just caring for someone, comes back in play in your life. And you don't know when, but if you learn how to make a perfect French omelet, I promise you it'll come back in very handy one day when you least expect it, with this bit of love that you perfected and you did, maybe it was 20 years ago in a kitchen you worked at, but with caretaking, I know especially, and we all have parents and friends, and, things are going to happen in our lives that you can't predict or control. And those little touches of love will come back in a way that, if it's just you and that person that you give it to, that's where you're that's where the aha moment for me has been. Oh, okay, I don't need a tip. I don't need a restaurant. I don't need necessarily all these things, but the fact that I can help my mother-in-law now, that I help caretake for, with this beautiful omelet every morning, it's just me, her, and God that see it. And that's it. And that's all I need, because it does change the world just in that one little bit. And I hope the Akashic Records capture everybody's beautiful moments out there trying to brighten someone's day. And I would love to have an app one day where you could light up every single beautiful person that does hold on to it. And everybody in the country is just sharing the amazing person at the gas station that made you feel seen, or, not the bad stuff. I don't want an app ever, a page that would show that, but the people that do it and then you see it, you're like, oh, wow, hospitality. That's a beautiful thing. And it's in the Bible for a reason. They talk about hospitality. It's tapping into our lives and each other. And I'm pretty sure that's what it's all about.
That's beautiful. This has been a really enlightening, inspiring, heart-centered conversation. I'm so, so grateful that you've taken the time to share your message and your mission with all of us. As we start to come to a close, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to share a little bit about what you're doing currently in the Charleston area and how people might be able to get involved if they're feeling called to connect with you, or maybe to be of service in some way, and workshops that you might be having, or ways that people can connect with you.
So you can go there's on Instagram, Hospitality Revival, or angiecollective.com, because I do see it as that I'm going to need people from everywhere to sort of tell me and help me and show me the ways that we can all do this. We're doing resets and workshops that focus on burnout and prevention of. We want to do leadership trainings with the restaurants, obviously. We just launched our revival boxes yesterday, where I really want to highlight local people that are making these amazing treats and such. So you can see our recent post on revival boxes. That's limited for this first go round, but I want to keep working on the boxes. That would be something that you could send someone that is needs a pick me up or just get it for yourself, either way. But, filling them full of love. And then I want more wellness focused boxes that will have certain things that people are making here that are focused on wellness. So those are all in development. And we're going to do a monthly revival meeting starting in November. That'll be the first Monday of every month. So we'll have that listed. I'd love people to just start jumping on and having a conversation. They'll be every month, no matter what, even if it's just me and Molly talking or somebody else that I invite. So, I know that there's a lot of that going on where people can jump online, but that it is an amazing way to connect with people and not feel like it's a heavy lift, and it could be something else. So we're doing that. We're working on our restaurant partnerships and community events that partnering with, I really want to be involved in the community. I'm really interested in Shared City with a woman here that has that nonprofit going, because I do feel like there'll be a nonprofit arm to this. I've already got like a soul fund. So if somebody ordered the SNIB shoes, which is a partnership of ours, we put $5 in the fund to give somebody shoes. So I definitely eventually want to give more than asking for stuff, but I just didn't see myself going into a full nonprofit. I just couldn't imagine having 6 bosses, much less one at this point in my life. So I have to do things this way. I might do an S Corp or something. So eventually figuring out, like you said, how to bring those people back in and work with them, so they can email me. 843hospitalityrevival@gmail.com is my email. Anybody with wellness pathways that we can open up and different ways to sort of support what we're doing. I'm working on being an ambassador, hopefully, to the Burnt Chef project. So they already have one in South Carolina, but I'm working on trying to get that so that we can look at suicide. That's another huge issue we didn't even talk about. I mean, so, there's so many big issues, but every little bit helps. So I'm super open. I love collaborating. I love meeting new people and hearing ideas. I don't care if it's incubator entrepreneurial programs for people to go into. So if it's a pathway that's available already, then let's just connect so that I can offer that when we get really deep into the industry with options for them. And perks, any perks in the deals, that would be great. So like I said, with SNIBs, but there's other yoga studios and hairstylists and people like that are offering if you're in the industry, you can come get 20% off or 15% off or a free haircut or a free ice cream cone, something like that for the actual people that aren't, in the leadership positions. And they'll get a membership card if they wanted to be a part and have access to things and perks and deals and all the good stuff. I jumped in as soon as I felt my soul said, nudge me to go on this. And so I'm still building it out as I go, but I was just sick of waiting and for everything to fall into place and be perfect like you often do in a restaurant or something. I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out as I go, because there's no other way to get in touch with people and figure it out until you just go. So jump in and go for it, and we'll figure it out as we go. Yeah. And then our class at Chefs Collective, working with Chefs Collective. So Molly and I are going to do our bridge. You want to tell them about that, Molly?
We're going to do an old-fashioned canning circle, so to speak, and I'll be teaching a class. You guys will be meeting in person, and then other people can maybe join on as a live stream, and just building community and connection and relationships with people that are walking a similar path. It's going to be great.
It's going to be super fun. Stock your pantry. So,
this has been such an incredible conversation, and I cannot tell you how moved I am by what you're doing. My heart is just cracked wide open because I have walked this path and I have been in the depths of despair, and I've found a way out. And I am just so moved by what you're doing and the fact that you care enough to reach your hand down to people that are still struggling, and help them up and speak with them and look them in the eye and treat them like a human and acknowledge their gifts. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing. And I hope that we can meet up again and continue this conversation. and see the development of how things are going.
Yes. Let's keep reaching down. We need all the hands. All hands on deck. Chef, thank you.
Angie, I'm so grateful that you have been a part of this journey with us. And I just want to say to everyone listening, if you would be interested, Angie's created a Chaos to Clarity workbook, and you'll be able to get that in the show notes. So make sure that you share it with your crew. Join us for our cooking class at the end of October, and let's just continue to pass this wisdom of the older generation, passing it on to the newer generation so that they don't need to struggle the way that we have. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Angie, thank you. You are an absolute love. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.